בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. So the subject of the shiur today, David HaMelech. We brought previously, and just before I start again, Rabotai, whatever I'm going to speak tonight about David HaMelech, we didn't even touch the beginning of David HaMelech, because we can speak in hours and hours and to tell stories that happened with David, and we're not going to have enough time. So I'm going to try and summarize the most important thing in that half an hour that we have. So David HaMelech was the second king in the Jewish history, as you know. The first king was Shaul. Shaul was the first king of the Jewish people, as you know. David HaMelech born in the 6th of Sivan. That means Shavuot. Exactly. You know what year? I'll tell you what year. 2,854 years for the creation. That means, let's calculate it for now. David HaMelech lived 2,722 years ago. That's when David HaMelech lived. David HaMelech, born to his father Ishai. Ishai was the grandson of Ruth. You remember? Ishai was Bet Lahmi. What it mean Bet Lahmi? Ishai mi Bet Lahmi. That's from Bethlehem. Ishai lived in Bethlehem. That's where Ishai lived. Ishai was from the tribe of Judah, as you all know, because who was his grandfather? Boaz. You remember? So, we see from here that Ishai was from Bethlehem and he was from the tribe of Judah. Anyone know the name of the mother of David HaMelech? I'll tell you. Huh? No, Bathsheba was his wife. Nitzevet bat Adiel. Nitzevet, standing, bat Adiel, the daughter of Adiel. Nitzevet bat Adiel, that was the mother of David HaMelech. She's related to Miriam HaNeviah, the prophet Miriam. Who was Miriam? The sister of Aaron and Moshe, you remember? And she also related to Kalev ben Yefuneh. Kalev ben Yefuneh was among the spies that gone to Eretz Israel and never spoke Lashon Hara. So from here we see that David HaMelech came from a special family, from a royal family. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 10, folio 2. The Gemara tells us something very interesting about David HaMelech. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah tells us David HaMelech born circumcised. You know how many years David HaMelech lived? 70 years. Nachon, 70 years. David HaMelech lived only 70 years. You know where he got it? From Adam HaRishon. The Zohar tells us, in the Zohar it's written, how come that David HaMelech got 70 years from Adam HaRishon? Adam HaRishon was supposed to live for 1,000 years. But when Adam HaRishon saw all the people that are going to be born, that are going to come to this world until the Mashiach come, he saw such a holy neshama that's going to come down to earth and going to live for such a short time, and then he will die. David HaMelech decided to give 70 years of his life to David HaMelech. That's where David HaMelech is.
Adam HaRishon.
From Adam HaRishon. That's where David HaMelech got his life.
What was he supposed to die at?
Adam HaRishon was supposed to live for 1,000 years.
Right. What age was David?
Born and die. A few hours. Immediately. Not a long time. Adam HaRishon then lived for 930 years. David HaMelech born and die on Shabbat. That was Shavuot. Where do we learn that? We learn that from the Gemara in Masechet Yerushalmi. Okay. So far we brought a bit of history about David. Now let's go to his father Ishai. Who was Ishai? Do we know who was Ishai? Ishai, the father of David HaMelech, was a righteous man. Listen what the Gemara in Masechet Brachot say and you'll understand. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot, Nun Het Amud Aleph, that means 58, folio 1. The Gemara says something very interesting about Ishai, the father of David. And it says like this, Ishai יוצא באוכלוסה ונכנס באוכלוסה. Ishai, when he go out and when he come out to Bet HaMidrash, he go with a certain amount. What does mean uchlusa? Uchlusa is certain amount of people. The Gemara answer like this. Shishim ribo. What it mean shishim ribo? 600,000. Hazal tell us in the Gemara Masechet Brachot that Ishai have 600,000 students in his yeshiva. And why I'm doing the introduction to Ishai? I want you to understand why I'm doing it, because it's very important to understand the youth of David HaMelech. That's why I'm bringing the history of Ishai. The Gemara in Masechet Sukkah, Nun Bet Amud Aleph, 52 folio 2. Listen what the Gemara says. Ishai Ishai will be from those 8 Nesichei Adam. What it means, Nesichei Adam? Special men that going to come with the Mashiach when he come to reveal the Jewish people. When the Mashiach come, will come with him 8 special people. Ishai going to be one of them. So now we understand who was Ishai. Not only that, Hazal tell us that Ishai never sinned in his life. He was such a righteous man that he died not because he sinned, because Ityo shel Nahash. What does it mean Ityo shel Nahash? Because when Adam HaRishon sinned, he brought Mital HaOlam. That means, came death to the world. That's the only reason that Ishai died, not because he sinned. Why did I do the introduction of Ishai? For us to understand the youth of David HaMelech. I'm going to bring Midrash, and I'm going to bring the book of reincarnation of the Rama Mipano, and I'll explain everything. There is a Midrash that's called by Rav Makir. Rav Makir wrote a Midrash. He wrote 6 volumes, 6 different books of Midrashim. 2 of those volumes on a book of Tehillim. It's called Midrash HaMikri. In chapter 118, verse 28, he explained the history and the youth of David HaMelech. The Rama Mipano. Who was the Rama Mipano? Rabbi Menachem Azariah Mipano. He born in Italy, in the city of Bolivia. He born, let me just look at my notes because that I don't remember. He born in Italy 468 years ago. And he wrote the book of reincarnation. And there, regarding Ishai, he explained what's happened with Ishai and what's happened with David HaMelech. Ishai, remember, he was the grandson of Ruth and the grandson of Boaz. Who was Ruth? Was a Moabite. You remember, we spoke last week. Hazal tell us, and the Mefarshim tell us, like this. Ishai, for many years of his life, Ishai, by the way, have 6 boys. Later on, he have David that was 7. He have 7 boys and girls. When he have 6 boys and girls, he decide that he's going to separate from his wife. And Hazal asked why. That's when it's come. The Midrash and the Sefer Gilgul and Shemot Shel Rama Mipano regarding Ishai, there they explain why he have to separate from his wife for 3 years. Ishai was in a doubt for many years of his life when he married Nitzevet Bat Adiel, if he done the right thing or not. Why? Because he was a Moabite. His grandmother was a Moabite. And he have a doubt that Haz v'Shalom, the children that he have, psule, what it means? That they can't marry Jewish people. He had a doubt. He couldn't live with that. So he decided to separate from Nitzevet Bat Adiel. But we know that the Torah tells us that a man should not live by himself. A woman can live by himself. A man not allowed to live by himself. It's not good. After 3 years of separation from Nitzevet, he have a servant. And the Midrash said that he actually desired her. And she wasn't Jewish. She was his servant. As a matter of fact, she was his slave. He released her from slavery and he converted her and he decided to marry her. The night that they were supposed to be together, the night of the wedding, that servant called her madam, Nitzevet, and she said to her, tonight I'm supposed to spend the night with my new husband. But you are my madam, and I know the true story about you. Tonight you're going to go inside instead of me. So she left the door open. And the Midrash say when she gone to switch off the light, and that time they didn't have a light switch, she needed to switch off the candles. Nitzevet Bat Adiel entered, and she left the room. She left the house. Three months later, Nitzevet Bat Adiel pregnant. The mother of David HaMelech pregnant. Immediately, Ishai, that was a righteous man, couldn't believe. My own wife, sin, Haz v'shalom, with immorality, Haz v'shalom. They carry on. The children, the sixth brother of David HaMelech, they wanted to kill the mother. She committed adultery, Haz v'shalom. Embarrassment. They wanted to kill the mother and the baby. Ishai said underneath, no circumstance. You can't touch them. When the baby born, we're going to isolate him. And the Midrash carry on and tell us, and the Rama Mipano tell us regarding Ishai, that when David HaMelech was grown up a bit, immediately, when I say grown up, was a little boy. Immediately been sent off to become a shepherd. Where? To the desert. Which desert? The closer one to Bethlehem, Midbar Yehuda. Nachon? Everyone understand what is Midbar Yehuda? Huh? Sorry? Who said that not? No problem. That's called the Judaism desert. Okay? They sent them to look after the flock, after the sheep of the family. You know how many years David HaMelech was in isolation, Rabotai? Almost half of his life. 28 years of his life, David HaMelech lived in isolation. The father thinks that David HaMelech is a mamzer. Well, I'm going to explain why. The brother thinks he's a mamzer. What other people think? Why did they fought so? When David HaMelech born red-headed. Admoni. To the desert, go. You know, in Yiddish we say, futzek. Am I right? Sugawena. La aleinu, Haz v'shalom. David HaMelech, 28 years in isolation. What David HaMelech wrote in Sefer Tehillim? Avi v'imi azavuni. My father and my mother left me. Ve'Adonai asafani. The Almighty picked me up. David HaMelech, 28 years old. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell Shmuel HaNavi, the prophet Shmuel, Samuel. Shmuel HaRamati. What is Shmuel HaRamati? Any one of you know Jerusalem a bit? There is a city, there is a town, there is a suburb actually, not a town. There is a suburb next to Jerusalem that's called Ramot. Ramah. That's where he been, when he been buried. Shmuel HaNavi. That's where he buried. There is the grave of Shmuel HaNavi, Nebi Samuel. The Muslim call him Nebi Samuel. You've been there. Nebi Samuel, they took it already. They think that it's them. You know, like the Egyptian think that the Rambam also was from their nation. You know, the Muslim just take us, you know. They see a scholar person, they take. Anyway, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shmuel, it's time to go to Ishai Bet Alachmi. Go to Bethlehem, to Ishai. You're going to anoint the second king in the Jewish history. Kadosh Baruch Hu tell Shmuel HaNavi have to do. Shmuel HaNavi arrived in the house of Ishai. I've been sent by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to anoint one of your sons as a king. Oh, can you imagine the happiness of Ishai? My son going to be a king after all of that. What he have with David HaMelech, he thinking that David HaMelech has v'shalom a mamzer. One by one, from the older one to the younger one, they coming. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shaul, Al tistakel elav. Don't look at him even. This one is arrogant. This one is that. Don't look at him. When you read in Sefer Melachim, the book of Melachim, Melachim Aleph, the first one, you'll see there how they explain how HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell Shmuel HaNavi, don't look to those sons. Okay, 6 sons finished. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shmuel HaNavi, anoint one of the sons. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't talk. Shaul approached Ishai. There's no more. No more kids. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told me to come here. No, you know, we have one son, you know, he's a shepherd. We send him far away. Bring him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, it's to anoint the king. Bring him. The Midrash said they called David. Here come David, Admoni. Walk in. Yefe Einayim, beautiful eyes.
Amoni means ginger.
Admoni, red-headed, ginger.
Admoni, like I was.
Walk in. Shmuel HaNavi sitting. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Shmuel HaNavi, my king walking in and you sitting? Stand up on your legs. Anoint the man. Hazal said, the Midrash said, when he anointed, unbelievable moment. Unbelievable moment. Now everyone suddenly know that David HaMelech is not Has v'Shalom a mamzer. David HaMelech become the second king of the Jewish people in the history. Okay? David HaMelech wrote in Tehillim, in Psalm 131, something very interesting. What did he say, David HaMelech? Listen what he said. David HaMelech said something very interesting, and I'm going to translate it. And he said like this, Adonai, lo gaba libi, velo ramu einai, velo elachti bigdolot ubeniflaot. Listen what he said. Almighty, at the moment that they anoint me as a king, lo gava libi, my heart never was up. What it means never was up? I never looked down at my brothers, at my fathers that was thinking that Has v'Shalom I'm a mamzer. For 28 years of isolation, Rabotai, 28 years, he's not sure if he's a mamzer or not a mamzer. Many people will go to depression. Many people will commit suicide. David HaMelech decided other way. David HaMelech decide, I'm isolated, I'm going to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he said in Psalm 131, Lo gava libi, my heart never been lifted up. I never looked at my family down. And then he said, Velo ramu einai, when I killed Goliath, that all of Israel was frightened, all the women used to throw money, silver, gold, just to pick up your eyes, David HaMelech. The woman used to sing to him, the girls. Nothing. I never lift up my eyes. And then he said, ולא הלכתי בגדולות ובנפלאות. What does it mean, לא הלכתי בגדולות ובנפלאות? When David HaMelech brought Aron HaKodesh to Yerushalayim, that later on been put in Bet HaMikdash, that his son Shlomo built. That means that David HaMelech said, whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu you done for good. And on that, Rabbi Akiva said, Kol da'avid rahmana letav avid. Whatever the Almighty do, it's for good. David HaMelech decided, I'm in isolation, I'm going to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wrote the book of Tehillim, and with that we're going to get to it now. But before we get to the book of Tehillim, I would like to speak about the string of David HaMelech. Who was David HaMelech? We think that David HaMelech was just another admiral or another big officer in the Israeli army, just another big king. Has v'shalom. We'll see who was David HaMelech. David HaMelech, when he heard the story that we have a problem with the Palestine, until today we don't stop with them. Plishtim, where Plishtim was? Gaza. Until today we don't finish with it. It was Goliath. You know who was Goliath? That's Goliath. You know who he was? He was the grandson of Orpah. You remember, last week we said that was two sisters, Ruth and Orpah. Ruth married Mahlon. Orpah married Chilion. When they left, you remember after the two husbands died, they wanted to carry on with Naomi. Naomi said to them, no, don't come with me. Ruth said, no, I'll stick by you. Your nation is my nation. Wherever you sleep, I will sleep. Wherever you'll go, I'll go. Orpah decided, no, I'll go back to my father's house. I'm a princess. We explained. There are two different opinions that there is in the Gemarot, in Masechet Horayot, in Masechet Sanhedrin, if there was the daughter of Eglon Melech Moab, the king of Moab, or there was the granddaughter. Vice versa, there was princess. Orpah gone back home. Who come from her? Goliath. Not only that, Hazal said that he was standing and the time of Israel was in danger. He came with the Palestine and he was cursing the Jewish people. And I don't want to say it, but Has v'Shalom, he cursed the Almighty, swearing at the Almighty. Hazal said when David HaMelech heard that, his blood boiled. He gone to Shaul. And he said to Shaul, let me handle that man. Shaul promised that whoever going to kill Goliath will get his daughter, the daughter of the king, to marry. David HaMelech took the armored clothes, Hazal say, of Shaul. It was too big, but it fitted them exactly, first miracle. Imagine Goliath, huge, enormous man. David, not so big. You have to face them. David HaMelech took 5 stones, Rabotai, river stone, 5 river stone, Hazal say, wrote the name of the Almighty on him. And he threw it on Goliath. The first miracle happened that the armored helmet that he have been opened. And the stone hit Goliath right between the eyes, in his head. Usually when a person gets knocked in a head, fall backwards. Nachon? Pashut. When you see boxing, you see it. The guy give a punch, pop, he fall backwards. Here happened a miracle. Goliath fall to the front. Hazal explained why. Not to make David walk extra few steps when he wanted to chop his head. David HaMelech took the sword of Goliath and he cut his head. That's when all of Israel was praising David HaMelech. Shaul be'alafav, veDavid berevav. That means that Shaul came with 1,000 soldiers because he didn't trust. David HaMelech believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Almighty. After he chopped the head, David HaMelech didn't stop there. Now he said, that's the first, that's the beginning. You know, that was the starters. I want to go to the main course. David started killing with the Palestine. He started killing the Plishtim. You know what present he brought to his father-in-law? Shaul HaMelech, that was the first king. Hazal say 1,000 orlot. What is 1,000 orlot? You'll excuse my language. 1,000 foreskin. After he killed them, he gave his father-in-law 1,000 orlot, foreskin. You know what is a foreskin? After you do the Brit Milah. That's David HaMelech alone.
How old was David when he did this?
David HaMelech was just after anointment, most probably around 29, 30 years old.
So even though he was anointed to be the king, he wasn't...
He was the king of Judah. I'll get to it. I didn't explain. We'll get to it. The king of David HaMelech was only 40 years. I will explain. David HaMelech brought his father-in-law 1,000 orlot. You know what is it to kill 1,000 people by yourself? And that's not enough. David HaMelech, when he heard that, he said to Shaul, please give me the permission to go and fight against Goliath. Shaul said to him, how come? He said, when I was a shepherd, often I needed to protect the sheep, the flock of my family. In Midbar Yehuda, in the desert, you have a lot of lions, bear, fox, you know, a lot of predators. David HaMelech said to Shaul, I killed the mother and the cub of the lion. The lioness and her cub. Who can do that? You know what it is when a lioness sees someone coming near the cub? They get mad. He said to him, if that's not enough, I killed the bear and the cub. Let me handle Goliath. That's when Shaul allowed David HaMelech to go to start with Goliath. So from here we see who was David HaMelech, the string of David HaMelech. But David HaMelech not was just strong like this. David HaMelech, when he gone to fight with Goliath, Rabotai, he took 5 stones. On those 5 stones, he wrote the holy name of the Almighty. That means all of his strength, all of his energy, he knew where is it coming from. From upstairs. He didn't rely on himself. Now I would like to speak about David HaMelech, and now I'll answer all the questions. Chazal tell us in a Gemara, Masechet Moed Katan, page 16, folio 2, Tet Zayin Amud Bet, that David HaMelech, when he was a king, when he used to go to Bet HaMidrash to study in the front of his rabbi, was other student. So you say, here's the king come, let's make a special table, you know, here's Barack Hussein Obama coming, you know, to Israel, everyone, oh. No, David HaMelech was sitting with everyone on the floor. Hazal said David, when he was sitting and studying Torah, he was like a tolat, like a worm. He lowered himself and humble like any other person there in the room. He was sitting in the front of his Rabbi like a worm, listening for the Torah. But Hazal said later on that when David HaMelech used to go to war, David HaMelech was אכזר לעומות העולם. He was so vicious, so mean, and he was so strong, like an oak tree. You couldn't understand who's David. When it's come to Torah, when it's come in the front of the Torah, he was humble. But to protect the Jewish people, he was a different human being. That's David HaMelech. Not only that, if you read the story of David HaMelech when he ran away later on from the king Shaul, he hid in a cave. And Shaul walked in to the cave. And Hazal said that from Shaul you can learn modesty. How to behave, derech eretz. Shaul was in a cave. He going to do whatever he had to do. He needed to do his needs. You know, toilet, you'll excuse myself. David HaMelech cut part of the king, beautiful jacket, to say to Shaul, I could kill you. I didn't want to kill you. Shaul, don't try to hunt me. You're running after me for nothing. You're trying to kill me because doeg Edomi put poison in your mouth that I'm going to rebel against you. David HaMelech didn't kill Shaul, although that Shaul wanted to kill him. But for that he killed part of that jacket, David HaMelech been punished. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to David HaMelech, you didn't respect the clothes. When you're going to get old, no clothes going to warm you up. That's David HaMelech. Look how HaKadosh Baruch Hu judged him. כחוט השערה. David HaMelech asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I understand. Why did you, everything that you create in this world I understand. Two things I don't understand. Why did you create spider? And why did you create stupidity in the world? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, David, you judging me? Are you doubting me? I'll teach you a lesson. When you're going to run from Shaul, you're going to hide in a cave. A miracle happened that David HaMelech hid in the same cave that he cut the jacket. Come a spider, and immediately he make a web. Shaul say he can't be in that cave. He can't hide here. David HaMelech then realized why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created spiders. Okay? Stupidity. Why? Hazal say when David HaMelech was running away from his son, Avshalom, and they almost got caught him. And Shaul also, he acted like a stupid. Everyone said that's David HaMelech. He said, no. David HaMelech will act like this. A king will act stupid. Then he realized, David HaMelech, you'll excuse Hasv Shalom that I'm here to speak. I can't even speak about the dust that he stood. He was dribbling from his mouth, act like stupid. Then David HaMelech understand why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu created stupidity. And he thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all of those. Bet HaMikdash that we have today, Har HaMoriah, David HaMelech bought from Avnei Yevusi. David HaMelech could get it for free. He didn't want. He paid full amount to Avnei Yevusi, Melech Yevus. He paid him everything. David HaMelech was in king for 40 years. I'm going to get to your question, Liron. For 10 years, for the first 10 years, he was a king of Yehuda, the tribe of Yehuda that was in Hebron, king of Hebron. Later on, he became the king of all Am Israel for the last 30 years. Together, all 40 years. Does that answer? Yeah. Okay. You know who put the foundation for Bet HaMikdash? David HaMelech. David HaMelech dig the foundation for Bet HaMikdash. But David HaMelech didn't have the merit to build Bet HaMikdash. And Hazal explained, you know why? Because David HaMelech have a lot of blood on his hand. Nachon that he killed the enemy of the Jewish people. But still, Bet HaMikdash not going to be built with someone that killed other people. So until today, we see that the foundation of Bet HaMikdash you can't destroy. And Hazal say that if David HaMelech, לו דוד המלך היה בונה את בית המקדש, לא היה נחרב. That means if David HaMelech would be merited to build Bet HaMikdash, it will never be destroyed. Whatever David HaMelech done, nothing got destroyed. David HaMelech, we say at the beginning of the Shaul, we always say, David Melech Israel Chai Vekayam. נכון? David, the king of Israel, Chai Vekayam. He's alive and he's living. How come? But we know that David HaMelech dead. We know Kever David, just above the Kotel. I don't know how many of you know Sha'ar HaRayot, not far from Sha'ar HaRayot. You walk down. There David HaMelech been buried. That's where he is. That's his burial. נכון? Okay. So how do you come and tell me David Melech Israel Chai Vekayam? The Mefarshim explain, Rabbota, listen to that. How often we say Tehillim? When someone is sick, lo alenu, we say Tehillim. Nachon? For health. When we want salvation, when people have a tzoros, they read Tehillim. When people want Parnasa, they read Tehillim. When people want Atzlaha, they read Tehillim. When people want to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we read Tehillim. There is no one moment in this world that people doesn't say Tehillim. The book of Tehillim that wrote to us David Melech Israel. Hazal say, because everyone always saying Tehillim, that's keeping David HaMelech Chai Vekayam. The book of Tehillim, it's all Shirot v'Tishbachot LaKadosh Baruch Hu. David HaMelech write and praise and sing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is the meaning of Tehillim? Is to tell us whatever you get, whatever situation, whoever you are, whatever happened to you, never give up. David HaMelech, 28 years, Rabotai, the father, and the mother left him. Avi ve'imi azavuni. Never mind what people thought about him. Isolation. He's a mamzer. Don't come near him. לא ראוי לבוא בקהל, חס ושלום. Never give up. Never go to depression. The opposite. He uplifted himself. And where did he become? The second king of the Jewish people. Is to teach us something very important, Rabotai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu give everyone whatever he deserves. Every test, everything that happened to us. We don't know why. Take that test and uplift yourself. Many times that something happened to us, we ask why. Nachon? We don't know why. When you get to that question, why, try to remember David HaMelech. He didn't ask why. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you've given it to me. Let me work with this tool to uplift myself. As I mentioned, David HaMelech, Chai Vekayam. And I would like to bless all of us that we should all merit to see, please God, Mashiach ben David speedily in our days. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon. Yes, Julie.
When that marriage took place of the slave and Ishai, what was the status of David's mother at that time?
David HaMelech's mother was his wife. He just separated from her. He didn't divorce from her.
Still his wife.
Absolutely. He separated from her. That's what I say. He separated. Didn't divorce her.
He was treated as being a mamzer. Why didn't his mother own up at that point in time?
Okay, now, one thing that I forgot. Why did everyone was think that David HaMelech is a mamzer? Even that the mother taught and told them? Very good question. Because David was red-headed. None of the family was red-headed. And Hazal teach us here to learn something from Ishai, that when you having a relationship with your wife, you mustn't think about no one else. When when Ishai had the relationship, he was thinking that he had a relationship with who? With the maid. Do you understand?